Alright, I was requested to review this. I didn't read the stuff too much. Already looks, okay, 190s, we already got to altitude. 6 kilometers feels like a little higher than we probably want to be. This front section's a little slow, at 360 kph right now. This back section being over 400 is in a much stronger position, energy wise. I think you can even tell. It's not much. It's barely more, but regardless, 51's ahead. 51's above at 9 kilometers. Not not a great place. So currently getting bounced, and we'll see how the 190s get out of this, if at all. Um, we'll start at the. Oh, they got one each. We'll start over here on this group. He dives. They break. It's a little bit late, and at this point, honestly, probably should have broken in opposite directions. That's kind of rough though to do. Yeah, late as in just gets hit. Yeah, I mean, it's a hard angle to see, and it's a hard angle to call when to break, and you're kind of looking at them to tell you when to break. But break was too late for sure. Explanation being which the break didn't really require for them to turn at all. I mean, I think looks like they were almost angled, like kind of expecting the break a little bit, like they're already turning this way. That is the way you want to turn. You want to make them turn more, but it essentially almost just pulled lead, this big break in particular. And to break harder, you need to turn more. You need to start getting closer to 90 degrees or even break 90. And switching back, they get up to 500 just before the turn. So breaking low probably wouldn't have been terrible. So spin out. Let's jump over to the other side and see what happened here. A little bit lagged, solo. No one really has good visibility on what's happening on this dive anyways, so it'll be hard to get any callouts. And again, high 6 is a rough angle to see. Yeah, so just shot, and yeah, likely Taurus is down, or brass. This 51 stays on the fight. That's interesting. I mean, granted, can totally do that. Doesn't really yo-yo that much. Not sure who this one is because the attack view's not loading the name. So yeah, they managed to do a nice little yo-yo, and I'm curious what Patty's looking at this point. Unlikely that it's this 51 because nothing defensive there, and he does a very nice yo-yo to get on to his 6 and get a good shot and out. And then I'll just, I guess, keep addressing attacks. I mean, Deadnar's hit up. Joe, I think, followed him down a little bit, which is reasonable. Let's take a look at the other formation about what happens to them on this attack. It looks like they were a 5 ship. Okay, Streaks tries to turn around and help that. Swamp is going there, Nax is going there, and Mago and Mick, intentionally or unintentionally, kind of do a little bit of half split thing here. But it's kind of like turned enough that Mago's now got angle off, and he's actually under altitude as well. Oh, hopefully this was known on comms, but have another squadron coming in to support. Let's see. Go back to setup a moment. Actually, yeah, unfortunately this starts like after things are bad, so I can't really say anything about choosing to fly in this direction or whatnot. Like, so assuming that GC was giving you contacts about them coming this way and you had no visual, and they're telling you you're about to merge or merge in 10, or I mean maybe GC didn't tell any of those things, but if they did, you probably want to preemptively um, turn at least 90 degrees off from that heading, so you don't give them a split S dive, and you don't necessarily want to give them your full 6 because it's harder for you to see, and they could potentially use the speed to catch you anyways. But even then, if you get the full 6, it costs them a little more to convert their altitude into speed. So yeah, this section, I mean, it's just a real rough position. So at this point, I guess the best thing to do here is to try to play defensive until these other 190s come in, although it does just feel like there's a little too much turning there, just in general, in the 190 platform. I'm going to not bother talking about the other squadron because this is mostly going to go to our squadron. Okay, so Streaks is managing to go out here, but unfortunately he has no support, so he's got now 2 51s picked up on him. Thankfully the high 190s have managed to join the tail chase, and that goes out of range. So I cannot follow that further. If that is not just RTB after that initial attack, I'd be relatively surprised, but this goes on for another 7 minutes, so apparently that is not what happens. Yeah, Mago and Nax are also enough off tack V that I can't really see what happens. Those are additional 51s that seemingly come out of nowhere because of the ranges. And then, oh, okay. Even more context, I don't know. There was a large A20 formation that we supposedly had information on, maybe. Okay, so this is centered on 2514-ish. Is this who we were intercepting? Likely. Okay, so we're at 6K here. Bomber formation is at 3K. I don't know if that's just lucky or that's what the plan was, but assuming that we saw the A20s here and knew about the 51s here, you put the nose down more here. Like you want to be more like 500 kph or maybe even like 550. I don't know. Whichever is the better sustainable dive. I haven't quite flown the 190 enough to be that familiar with the exact number, but you want to be fast. You want to drag this out and do minimal turns. So right on this dive, 51 gets 60 kph. 51 here, I mean, they're going 800 kph. Like, I mean, yeah, speeding up is, you're not going to out dive them in this case, but it gives you more time to react a little bit as well and do things like half splits, etc. And potentially gets you mixed in with the bombers sooner, assuming that's your goal. I mean, at this point, yeah, that's minimize losses, maximize effect is probably the plan. So a lot of this turning to react to the fighters, assuming that we are aware of these bombers that are coming in here, you are essentially, you're letting the fighters do their job. Like, the fighters are looking to tie you up so you can't attack the bombers. So obviously you don't want to go all suicidal on the bombers, but like, you're now playing in the fighter's game. The 51 turns better than the A8. Yeah, let's take Magos and Mix example. So you're staying here at the beginning at 435 TS, and then 6,400, 6.4K energy. Oh, Mick does get shot here. I guess I missed that on the first pass. It's a little unlucky. Wait. Oh, he spins out. Okay, he flat spins. Got it. So that definitely kills energy. Okay, we're gonna look at Magos then. It looks like he does do a low turn, so he stays pretty energy efficient. But yeah, he hits that 600 kph in a turn. And so if you would have done the same kind of dive and not turned, he'd be going 600 or 700 kph here and taking an angle off on these bombers that are coming in. And if most of the squadron was able to do that, you'd get pretty good stuff on there. The only downside being is that you'd be dragging the enemy fighters away from your allied squadron coming in, but it still the defensive speed. I've getting way too long-winded on this. It's a fight. Okay, so that's part of why. Okay, speed's still up on Dadnar. Curious. Okay, if this is not their target and this is them ditching bombs, which it almost looks like it is, there's some positives here. Oh, they're already being attacked too by. Okay, they're already being attacked by other 190s as well. The high 190s, other squadron high 190s. So that's good. This looks like this is probably this is far enough in that it could be a target, but looks more like a ditch to me. And someone definitely already ditched all the parachutes. In general, though, like yeah, you're still fast in this group of 3 190s, but you're just a little low. That could be partially due to damage. Well, a little low for these ones. I guess some of these you're okay on. I guess Idle is definitely one to catch. Looks like Dadnar's looking at Rostic. Yeah, so right here, Dadnar goes with a pure pursuit. In which cases he's just putting his nose right on him. With this steep of a turn, you definitely want a bit of a lead pursuit. I mean, it still could be lagged, but like you need to shoot in front of him. So instead of putting your nose on the plane, you need to put your nose here, which means that right here, the nose. I guess I'm gonna make him smaller. It's more like this is the real size, but you actually want to be aiming here because he's going here, so you need to shoot him here. So all these are short because he didn't roll his wings over to the right soon enough because he shot at where Rostic was, not where Rostic will be. Lead stuff. This is just a furball now. Mick. Oh, he recovered and managed to find a 51. That's pretty fortuitous. That after spinning, going up, going over here, and coming back, there just happens to be a 51 in front of his gun sights. That's quite good. What did this 51 do? Oh, this 51 was already lower and slower from trying to... Either he was close escort or attempting to defend. Nax got in here from some way. Okay, I don't have much of that. It's off tack view. Mago. He got on the wrong side of the 51s. Okay, looks like Nax did get hit up by gunners. Oh, he... Okay, benefit of plenty. Let's see. Yeah, or is it? Oh, it is a 51. Okay, either way, little ballsy to fly right in the middle of all of them. Generally, you probably want to attack and then offset. Let's get back to where's Dadnar at? Still, oh, they're still coming in here. Okay, yeah, I guess I just didn't look closely at that furball a while ago. Pushes down, gets that lead. Look at Swamp for a minute. He's now in Rostic as well, I think. Yeah, for full lead, needs to go there, but I think straighten out here is not a bad decision. And then you probably need to high yo a bit, which he starts to do that a little bit. Climbs up with his turn. Joe, I think, was more Dadnar's wing, so he's trying to stay tight to Joe, which is a good supportive thing. It looks like Joe is telling Dadnar about this plan, telling him he needs to break and reacting to him. The only note here is that given the current turn and the relative position of lead and wingman, which I assume Dadnar doesn't know, so I don't know if Joe called the direction to break Breaking harder to left is going to give Joe a better time at getting on this 51.6. Breaking right makes it hard for Joe. So the breaking right, he knows he doesn't have much time to go over, and then it just happens too quickly, and he can't catch up because he had to do things to dress it on. So he does get on a 6, it's too late to really do anything more. The breaking left, like, I don't think there's drawing tools in tech view, and I don't feel like getting into that. Like, so he opens up guns here. So if turn would have been left, if Dadnar was now like here, then the 51 would have turned here, and then you're almost like, and for the most part, they're still parallel to Joe, but it gives Joe turning room. Like, if you're pulling the 51 to the left, you're giving Joe turning room to get in. Where it's turning to right, Joe has to go higher, pull inverted, pull down quick, and then I guess kind of double down on it. I don't dislike going down, but this is probably one of the cases where if you can roll through 180, you actually roll to turn the other direction and then pull harder the opposite. So rather than doing kind of a lazy-ish turn or break, I mean, damage, so who knows what the controls are like, and kind of just pulling down offset 45 degrees, nose low to this side, you keep rolling through another 90 degrees and you pull 45 degrees the other direction. That won't like absolutely save you from 51, but it's gonna give you a little more time. Like, you do roll quite well still, so it creates more problems. Whereas in this case, you're kind of just breaking in the direction that was kind of expected from your initial turn here, which all feels a little slow. And then kind of solves the problem too of if you do end up diving this way quickly, gives Joe that turning room, which is just luck at that point then. But I should review what Danner requested, but Danner did request this review. So Swamp's back in now. I think his decision was good to kind of like extend and keep energy. I guess maybe sort of locally bad with he's now pretty alone, and this is going to start to show with he gets picked up by a 51 when he's going to try to support Joe. Positive being he's still kind of extending. Let's see. Yeah, this turns a little... It feels just a tad early. I think here you kind of level your wings a little bit and try to use your current speed. Because actually, yeah, this 51 is going slower. They're currently 800 meters out. That's not a very effective range for 50 cals. So, assuming Swamp knows he has a 6, he might be turning for supporting this 51. But if he's aware he has a 6, you actually want to wings level a little bit more and keep your speed. At the moment, 51's accelerating. I mean, I guess maybe there's more dive relation, but this turn is maybe just a tad early, but it's a decent amount. It's a 4G turn, but it being a tad early makes it so the 51 can hold it, and then the nose up kind of like ends up being poor as well. This one needs to be a level break in order to keep the 51 fast and try to force the overshoot. Because in order to pull lead here, the 51's going to 6.5 Gs. I think like 7 or 8 is around where G suits might start having issues. And actually, they might not have G suits if they were the British variant. So you're forcing them to pull more Gs. And so by going high, you let them not pull as many Gs. So yeah, he gets caught up here and gets hit. And I mean, I guess I didn't go all the way through, but it's pretty confident from here he was getting hit. And then Dadner finally decides to go home, I guess. This was his opportunity to pull up into that 51 if he's got... I mean, he's been shot up a lot, so who knows. I guess he also sees this over here, maybe. He's turning there, but it's losing a lot of altitude. Once you've gotten down this low with this fight, with this many planes above you, you're pretty much 180, go towards friendly lines, friendly field, and maybe consider climbing back up later if you're not too damaged, but again, quite damaged. Let's see. So yeah, Swamp gets hit at the top of the climb. That's kind of expected. Starts diving pretty hard and using roll rate a bit. That helps him a little bit. Unfortunately, can't shake at this point. The 51's well within guns, so can't really do much. More drinking here. Okay, am I gonna eat my words and Deadnar did get into position with this? Okay. Well, maybe I didn't have the right foresight. But it did work out that Swamp managed to dive so steeply in front of Deadnar that managed to equalize distances and at least managed to scare off that 51. Good on that 51 for actually having check 6 behavior when that padlocked. Oh, he probably, yeah, they definitely have friends looking to attack. So, possibly superior comms. And now, another fighter coming in. Maybe Joe can call it. Who knows how messy comms are at the moment. And yeah, this is starting to look a little half split like, which is good. In general, yeah, Swamp probably needed to execute this better. Swamp probably needed to try to climb sooner, but I don't know how soon he knew he was clear and how damaged he is. But he needs to climb a little bit to try to decrease turning room between them, while also making it so Deadnar is not as sucked. So essentially kind of slow his forward progress to be able to make it so he can turn down into this fight easier. So he does turn in here, and they do a little bit of Thatch Weave, which this 51 decides he's happy to not take that, I guess. So Thatch Weave going for successful. Yeah, maybe they're just going to Thatch Weave here. That looks like it might work out quite well, and it's one of the first times I've seen it used effectively on Intact View. So yeah, this 51's coming in next. He's definitely got speed on both of them, and this is definitely a situation where continuing to Thatch Weave should help. Let's see. I think Swamp needed to keep turning a little harder. Or they just came in at the worst possible time. I think if Swamp was going a little bit more this way, it would help a little bit with the problems, but I think in general the 51's getting these shots no matter what. The question is how much... Yeah, it's a situation of if Swamp was here instead of where he is now, that would have pulled the 51 to like here, which then gives Deadnar better angles on his turn back around. And kind of like, because both of their turns were so shallow at this merge here, this is where the Thatch Weave is starting to break down. You see how it really worked well here is you got this really nice, they're almost 180 degrees off from each other, and you get this really nice cross and this figure 8 kind of thing, and you get high aspect shots on any bandits that are following. When you get here, it's broken down, and it's now 45 degree off, or wait, 90 degree off, angle off, and you see how immediately on the trails that is now starting to break down this kind of eye, this circle, like it's tightening. Like they don't have the turning room to continue this maneuver, so I expect they won't be able to. I guess there's a little bit of vertical separation. That is one thing I'm missing a little bit, so that adds a little bit to the distance of this. But I mean, that might work in Deadnar's favor because he's a little bit slower, not by much. So maybe he can get the turning angles going up, but Swamp was kind of forced to turn back here, whereas if he'd been tighter here, he'd be turning back here. It'd be like this angle, and Deadnar would be able to turn in, and you're not going to 6 him, but you're able to get like a 90 or 45, like essentially an aspect shot. See, he almost gets it here still, and I'm just kind of saying how it'd be just a little bit better. Yeah, it looks like he just aims a little high. Not enough to deter this 51 too badly, and I guess there's a lot of reason for that if Swamp goes in here. But yeah, the first turn of the Thatch Weave was very good. The next turn is just a little... It was also kind of tight by Deadnar, I'll also say that. pulling 5Gs here when currently that 51's off. I mean, I don't know if he knew he was off or not, but it's a 5G turn for no benefit. Or as he keeps speeding, keeps more shallow, then if he keeps his turn rate up, or rate of turn, yeah, up, then he can probably get around a little bit differently rather than playing the Ingles fight on this one. And then, yeah, I assume now finally. Oh, they finally get too friendly AA. Maybe this was the target all along for the A8s or for the. Excuse me, tired brain, for the A20s. Yep. Okay. Finally runs home. Oh, and bails over friendly lines. Got it. So that's the review. Gonna upload it. Gonna make some jokes. Maybe. I don't know. All of them are staying high. Guess as a note. Oh, Joe goes hero mode. And it's just Joe was trailing this whole time too. So he sticks on. They go there. Maybe miscommunication a little bit. Joe goes nose hot here. Realistically, they want to be they switch back to thatch weaving away from each other. But I mean, there is a 51 taking AAA fire. Just it's probably not gonna be that much. So yeah. I assume Joe did not see a 51 because this is a head-on you'd want to take in an A8. You'd want to just turn right a little bit and open up your cannons. Yeah, then he turns right again, and then out of attack view range. Unless he did just somehow randomly stall into the ground, but that's out of attack view range. Okay, so that's all I'm going to bother reviewing, just because the amount of planes in the area and the amount of stuff that could happen. Honestly, a lot of planes went in and out of attack view as well, so seems like it did not go too well for Massasauga, and not many made it home. And, I mean, unfortunately, attack view doesn't really have the ranges anyways, but, like, when we're just, like, the attack view starts here, and this is already, like, a tough problem. Like, this just is a tough problem. Like, I know it's kind of, it feels kind of scapegoaty, or not, like, kind of like a cop-out to always say, like, your mistake happened before this in flight sims during combat, but to some extent, like, the mistakes happened before this. Some additional options. So like I mentioned earlier, just to rehash this a little bit, you can either drop your nose and try to get to the bombers faster. The other option you're looking at is, like, before you got to this grid square, like somewhere over, it looks like Lizzo at this point, if you put more of a head-on perspective, you give them worse dive angles, essentially. Like, this way you ended up underneath them either way, but because of, like, the ability of this P51 in particular, the fact that he doesn't have to do a full split S, right? Like, he can just kind of casually come down and then kind of do this arcing turn and do this 90 degrees. It's kind of a nice angle. Like, it's almost like the perfect angle. Like, if you're a full 90 degrees off or running away, like, you just elongate the fight. And then anything other than 90 degrees or more off, you really want to be, like, dead on. I guess I'm not using my degrees in the correct way, probably. So you want to be 180 aspect, so nose to nose. Otherwise, you want to be 90 or further from nose to nose and be elongating the fight. Because if you're directly under them, like if you're directly flying north here at almost this point, you're only giving them vertical turning room. You're not giving them any horizontal turning room, and that means that they can only pull split S. And pulling a pure split S is a lot of speed gain. It's a lot of G-forces. You really make it, not that they can't execute it, but you make it harder to execute it. You make it so they pick up more speed, and so while it can sometimes be harder to track as the defending fighter, you're going to essentially give yourself more opportunities for them to be overspeed, or essentially overspeed and be able to overshoot in a situation where they might, pull underneath your line, pull underneath your altitude and not be able to pull up into you soon enough. And it overall gives you more options defensively to be nose to nose in the situation. Essentially, you keep flying and they pull under, and I mean, this altitude difference, they still have the speed that they should be able to catch you, but the point is you drag it out and be able to do more of those defensive maneuvers like half splits and sandwiches, and if it's immediate, like a thatch weave. But in general, a thatch weave is a pretty it is good in the 190 because of the roll rate, but the thatch weave is very much a committing that you're going to kill energy for it. So yeah, general thoughts. In addition to, I guess, if you're not just running away from the fighters to try to hit the bombers as fast as possible, and you're aware that these friendly squadron is here, assuming that you're aware of that, that makes the pure north even better here, because you're keeping them in this area more. Like, the only reason we kept the enemy P-51s in this area is because we turned heavily. But if we kept going north here, if we were at this position, we're going north. So let's say we were actually, if we turned at Lazo, instead of like a 330 heading, we had like a 350 or so. So we had a 350 heading, we'd probably be at like 2516.4. The 51s would be right overhead, and we'd have these guys coming in right now. And then the 51s have the option of split S and dump a bunch of energy to follow us north into about kind of this junction, heading into about 2416.1, where this is really lined up for the squadron to come in and just whack them, or just not dive on you. Now, given the perfect information, all this other stuff, and the benefit of hindsight, and I don't know what kind of force it was happening, that trajectory, that heading, puts you to have a dogfight with the fighters here, while the A-20s are busy here. And the main tasking, the main goal is for us to get these A-20s. And I guess additionally to that, and I don't know about visual, but where these A-20s came in is 090 heading from here, even maybe from Lazo, or sorry, 270. Got my west and my east mixed up as usual. 270 from Lazo would give you a better intercept vector anyways. So this starting intercept looks like it's kind of false no matter what. Like, we would ended up being here or here. No, maybe the intercept vector was okay. So it's either, actually, no, I can't tell. They show up here. So this intercept vector was 2 pier without enough lead. And so without enough lead on an angle off like this, when they're approaching you, you easily end up in lag pursuit or have to make a really hard turn. Because at this point they're going south, you're going 330. You're going 330, they're going 180. You have 70 degrees of a left turn to pull off. Whereas if you're going 270, you only have, I did the math wrong. Anyways, like I said, tight brain. You have less of a turn to get onto their 6. It's just, and even then, you don't necessarily want a turn to get on their 6. Like, if you got a nice aspect off from the forward quarter here in an A8 with speed, you take that forward quarter shot, and then you kind of extend a little bit, and then you loop back around, and you should be able to catch them. Like, A20s, they're going 430. Like, you can easily be doing like 600, 700. Like, at no point are these guys just gonna run away from you. Like, that was even the fast 120s. That might be if 120 was diving originally. Like, I guess, yeah, they can get up to like 450 in a shallow dive. All right. I mean, they're not slow planes, but you're still faster most of the time. And some of those might still involve bombs, but for fear of talking a bunch more, I'm just gonna leave it here, and hope anyone who stayed through all of this rambling that's been going on for, where do I even have a timer on the length? Okay, no idea where OBS says the length of recording. So yeah, fun. GG's, laters.